بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala, we're going to continue in our reading of A Blessed Valley. We reached up to page 183 in the house of Al-Haddad, in the first important biography that we're going to read is the biography of the great Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. And really a significant time should be spent on the life, works, and methodology of Imam al-Haddad, because Imam al-Haddad represents a simplifying the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the common people. And prior, what we've been reading was wayfaring on the spiritual path at its highest levels. So when we read about Al-Faqih al-Muqaddam, and we read about Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Saqaf, and those great Imams, Sheikh Abdullah al-Aydarus al-Akbar, and Abu Bakr al-Aydarus al-Adani, and the likes, Sheikh Ali Barras, we're talking about a high level of spirituality, very rigorous in the path. And Imam al-Haddad, he comes and he summarizes the route or the path to Allah tabarak wa ta'ala in a way that is easily accessible for the common believer. And that is the way we are following today. So as they said, that Imam al-Ghazali radiyallahu ta'ala anhu summarized the book in the Sunnah, and Imam al-Haddad summarized al-Imam al-Ghazali. So we have the summary of the summary with the works of Imam al-Haddad. So inshallah, let us begin here with Al-Fatiha to the soul of Sayyidina Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad. Al-Fatiha. نعم.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. The author, may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on him, said, the house of Al-Haddad, rahimahullah. Imam Abdullah ibn Alawi al-Haddad, rahimahullah, was born in his parents' summer cottage in El Subair on the outskirts of Turin on the evening of Sunday, the 5th of Safar, 1044 AH, 31st July, 1634 CE.
So put this in your date. Imam al-Haddad is born in the middle of the 11th century. Now, all we always talk about is global and historic Islam. And you're going to find in that time, you have great scholars in Egypt, great scholars in Syria, great scholars in Hijaz, those areas, great scholars in Northern Africa and Western Africa, in the subcontinent. You want to try to have a picture eventually, as you learn, of the whole Islamic world, especially when we talk about methodology, because Imam al-Haddad had a methodology. Was that methodology consistent with the methodologies around the Muslim world at his time? And so the date and what was going on around in other parts of the world is very important to understand that. Now,
He grew up in Turim, losing his sight when he was around 4 due to an eye infection. He was a child resembling other children since he liked to play and with enthusiasm. However, he was different in certain essential ways, since not only did he like to pray, fast, recite the Quran, and study religious sciences, but he also went around the mosque of Turim at night, making it a point to pray in every single one of them. He also
in Tareem in his time, there were hundreds of masjids, right? There were hundreds of masjids because you have these big masjids, like where they gather for Jumu'ah. And then each family, each tribe has masjids, different smaller masjids that are local. And great knowers of Allah, they establish masajid. So in Tareem, there are several, like hundreds of masjids, small ones. And so when you said that Imam al-Haddad used to go around the masjids of Tareem, you can imagine how much he used to pray as a kid, right? You're talking about, it is mentioned that he would make 100, 200 rakats a day in the various, uh, in the masajid. It's a lot, right? So you can see that a young man is really attracted to worshiping Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala.
He also made it a point to visit every man of Allah Ta'ala in the area, so that he was later able to say that he had benefited from nearly 140 masters.
And some of those, visiting those knowers of Allah, was just for the gaze and the barakah. And we should put that. Sometimes you just visit the pious people for the gaze and the blessing, the barakah, right? Right? And I honestly would tell you there's a great benefit in that. I remember one of the, and we'll read about him later, inshallah, one of the great knowers of Allah that passed, rahimahullah, it was in our time though. We went to visit him. It was late in the nighttime. And he was very old. Uh, and the energy that he had in advising and connecting you to him, and just for almost hour and a half, 2 hours. But that period of time was so impactful for what would come after. It's like you got this opportunity, you got this blessing, you got these advices, you got that gaze, right? So many doors would open from that. And even some traces of that visit today I still benefit from. And it's been quite a while since then, subhanallah. Mm.
He was a frequent visitor to the graves of his ancestors in the cemetery of Turim, but also in other parts of the country, so that he is known to have been a regular visitor of his early ancestor, Imam al-Muhajir, in Shib ibn al-Qadim al-Husayis at Husayisa, and at the foot of the same hill, his maternal great-grandfather, Sayyid Ahmed ibn Muhammad al-Habashi. Together with his friends, he sometimes undertook these journeys while fasting, and there made sure to fill all the water basins from the well adjacent to the mausoleum of Sayyid Ahmed el Habashi, rahimahullah, so that the people coming in the early hours for the Fajr prayer would find sufficient water for their ritual ablutions.
And mashallah, if you ever get the opportunity to visit these blessed places, uh, please do so. You know, the the spiritual energy you get from that is, mashallah, something that everyone who can should try to attain it. Allahu Akbar. And then you think that they did this and you get to do the same thing. It is also emulating the pious, right? Especially in a time where some people, they consider these things innovations and shirk and all. So when you see those pious people do it, do as they do. Make the intentions that they make intentions by all their pious intentions. Inshallah, you'll get what they get, even though you're not like them. Mm.
Watching his, excuse me, Watching his activities day after day aroused the anxiety of his parents and his grandmother, for they feared he was exerting himself too much and insisted that he reduce his devotional activities. He was forced to obey, albeit reluctantly, for it would never have occurred to him to disobey his parents or grandparents. When he
Mm.
was not studying the Quran or praying, he spent his time wandering about with his friends, reading Sufi books and chanting Sufi poems. One of his favorite books was Lata'if al-Minan of Sheikh Ibn Atta'illah as-Sakandari, rahimahullah, which contains the biographies and some of the teachings of Sheikh Abu Hassan as-Shadili, the eponymous founder of the Shadili order of Sufism. In his
Remember,
first
we told you the Ba'alawi way is a Ghazali way outwardly and a Shadhali way inwardly. Mm.
successor, Sheikh Abul Abbas al-Mursi, rahimahullah. Many years later, he was to refer to an important Shadili book, Qawaid al-Tasawwuf, by Sheikh Zaruk, rahimahullah, saying, "We read this book in our youth and were given openings in it, and also other Shadili books, especially the Ta'if al-Minan of Ibn Atta. Had we persisted with had we persisted in reading Shadili books, the things would have appeared on us, but Allah Ta'ala diverted us from this with Imam al-Ghazali, rahimahullah, in his books, and with a man of our Abu Alawi masters from the Barzak, so that the people might benefit from us."
And
What?
here, you see, there is that outward reading in the books, and there are secrets from those masters in their books, right? Sometimes the barakah of a scholar is in his books. Sometimes it's in his children, right? Sometimes it's in his students. So when one wants to benefit, one tries to grab a portion of all of that, right? And in those books are openings. So constant reading in them. And then as there is those blessings from the people of the outward, this world, there is also those connections from the people in the barzakh, the intermediate world. And Imam al-Haddad, he had his portion of all of that. May Allah grant us a strong love of the pious so that those things are open to us, inshallah tabaraka wa ta'ala. One of the things that we miss out on, we need more of, and inshallah Allah gives us tawfiq to do it. We need to read more books together, right? We don't read enough. We do some, but mashallah with our time. But we need more, you know, and make it a habit that you don't go anywhere without a book, a physical book, not your laptop, not your, you know, your what's they call it, your device, an actual physical book. It has a secret in it, just the book itself, right? Uh, seekers of Allah Tabarak wa Ta'ala love these type of books. They read them and they read them and they read them. I'll give you, let me show you something we're working on now. Mm. This was a new edition of by Imam Sha'rani. So those who read Arabic, this is a new book, right, uh, of Imam Sha'rani. Imam al-Haddad was a big lover of the books of Imam Sha'rani. Imam Sha'rani, he died in the year 973. But this book was just published by Darul Taqwa in Damascus. And already our teachers have read this book. We're almost through most of it. Like immediately, the new book came, let's read it, right? Subhanallah. And this is the habit that we should develop, you know? So I don't know if it reaches the shores of America yet, but for those who like tasawwuf and can read Arabic, this is the new edition of this book. It's very nice, very well done. Uh, Darul Taqwa is a good publisher. Uh, just a benefit. And if you get it, please keep me in your dua as you read, you know, the works of Imam Sha'rani, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. But that's the habit of the scholars. They read, they read, they read, they read, they read, they read. And they get benefits from each of these books, mashallah. Imam al-Haddad was a lover of the books of Imam al-Sha'rani. Now,
What this quotation seems to mean is that because of the traditional Alawi preference for beginning first of all with acquiring a solid base in the religious sciences and the discipline of uprightness before going into Sufism, Imam al-Haddad rahimahullah was not allowed to pursue his journey into the Shadali books, which, because of their high Sufi content, may well induce in gifted spiritual seekers spiritual states early on in their spiritual journey, rather than allow for the gradual maturation necessary for a stable teacher and leader. These spiritual states are manifestly what he referred to when he said that things would have appeared on him, the reference to that fact that he was directed to Imam al-Ghazali's past. One moment. Sorry. The reference to the fact that he was directed to Imam al-Ghazali's pattern by one of his ancestral spiritual mentors is important, since he often stated that his main spiritual masters were from the Barzakh, the intermediary world of departed spirits.
and
On one
the
occasion,
Barzakh, that's that world in the grave. So one of the great ones that he had a strong connection, of course, Al-Imam al-Faqih al-Muqaddam and Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Saqaf and Sheikh Abdullah bin Aydarus al-Akbar. And Imam al-Haddad, since a child, had a special training from the Barzakh, from Al-Aydarus al-Akbar, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Mm.
On one occasion, he said, "We owe a debt of gratitude in this matter to four of the people of the Barzakh: al-Faqih al-Muqaddam, Sheikh Abdul Rahman al-Saqaf, Sheikh Umar al-Mihdar, and Sheikh Abdullah ibn Abu Bakr al-Aydarus. Now we owe only the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, may Allah Ta'ala's blessings and peace be upon him, with no intermediaries."
And
On
here's a secret, as Imam al-Sha'rani mentioned, that some of those people, and he was talking about the people of Yemen, uh, that they reached a point where they took directly from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam without no intermediaries. And Imam al-Haddad is one of them, to the point that he said that whenever I want to know if a hadith is rigorously authentic or not, I just ask the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For some of us, who have been spiritually veiled, that may seem insane. But for the people of Allah, this is normal. And so here, Imam al Haddad is mentioning with those who before them who reached those high levels, like Ash-Sha'rani mentioned. MashaAllah. Now,
On other occasions, he had asserted that Sheikh Abdul Qadir al Jilani, rahimahullah, was also one of his masters and that he had a special relationship with him, both through the conventional chain of Sufi transmission and directly without intermediary. He
Allah.
once told one of his companions, as they were in his house at El Hawi, Sheikh Abdul Qadir, rahimahullah, was here yesterday. He came and prayed 2 rakas there in this spot. In Ramadan of 1061 AH, 1654 CE.
So when I read these aspects of the pious people, I long because every people have these, connections. And it's normal in our Islamic practice. I cannot wait. I pray that I live long enough to see that normal in our own communities. I do. Like, where we actually experience and it becomes common knowledge. Not, oh man, I don't believe that. No, we've actually experienced enough of it so that it's normal. May Allah make it so. May Allah make it so. And maybe our reading about it is a beginning to it. But I'm telling you, the biggest veil from this happening to us, in my opinion, is the veil of the Wahhabi infiltration in our communities. And everything spiritual became innovation and shirk and grave worshiping. And that sticks in our minds so we don't even strive. This is my honest feeling. And that's why I'm so hard against it. Because the reality of the deen, we will never taste it if we keep following that stuff. It was designed to destroy this aspect of our religion. And this is a reality of our deen. And we read it. When Sayyidina Jibril, alayhi salam, Jibril is an angel. Jibril is from the unseen world. But the Prophet ﷺ, not only the Prophet ﷺ, his companions, they actually got to interact with him and experience it. That's what the Prophet ﷺ said. This is Jibril. He came to teach you your religion. Jibril's an angel. But Allah allowed him to manifest in the physical form. Al-Khadr, radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who's mentioned as the one whom Sayyidina Musa sallallahu alayhi wasallam met with. Many people in our history, all the way to today, they still meet with Al-Khadr. He's alive. From that time, right? But if we take away all the spiritual stuff, all the spiritual matters, you'll never experience. And a doctrine that's designed to do that, right? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wake us up. Naam, go ahead.
In Ramadan of 1061 AH, 1654 CE, he left his parents' house and moved to the small Hujaira mosque, which had modest living quarters on the roof known as the Zawiya. This is where he lived for the next 38 years before moving to the southeastern suburb of El Hawi. The same year, he contracted his first marriage, informing his father only a year later. The Bedouin girl he married the Bedouin girl he married bore him his first son, Muhammad. At first, he strove to avoid contact with other people as much as possible, until formally ordered first by his ancestors, then by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. May Allah Ta'ala's blessings and peace be upon him and his family to
So
sit
they
for
used to
teaching.
say, some of those great scholars, they didn't do any act or change from one state to another or engage except by permission from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they would have these regular, sometimes in the dream state, sometimes in the awakened state. They would have these regular gatherings. The key to that is abundant salutations on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mm.
Despite his blindness, the Imam was a voracious reader. Since a young boy, he spent a
Read that
substantial
twice.
Despite his
Okay.
blindness, the Imam was a voracious reader. Despite his blindness, the Imam was a voracious reader. Since a
So
young
they
boy,
always would have sessions where they would read books. Him and his companions, they would gather and read and read and read. And it's indicated by what Al Habib Ahmed bin Zayn al Habashi said. He said, I spent 40 years with Imam al Haddad and we read over 70 books, right? And when they say 70 books, don't think individual books. Some of those books were 10, 15 volumes. Like, so really, when you add it, it's hundreds of books, individual volumes, but sometimes one book is multiple volumes. And he said, I read over 70 books. Whew, that's some serious reading, right? And then you got to remember, Imam al-Haddad is explaining, just like we do. They're reading, he's pointing notes, they're referring to other books. You know, these are the sessions. Don't deprive ourselves of these sessions. This was the way of the pious. Abundant reading, abundant reading, abundant reading. Different great scholars for the barakas of their books. The books of Imam al-Nawawi, the books of al-Ghazali, the books of al-Sha'rani, right? All of those different books, the books of the Shadhaliya, Ibn Ata'illah, books of Ahmad Zarruq, subhanallah. Then books of fiqh, books of aqidah, books of biographies, so much. May Allah give us the sustenance and time to spend our time in reading beneficial books. Mm.
since a young boy, he spent a substantial amount of time listening to books being read to him, never tired, never bored. He
So
was
we
led.
have this, all of those, we have students that we send overseas. So as I get older, I can't read much. My eyes and I get tired. But now I have these young 20 something year old, 30-year-old youth who learn and they just read. So a lot of books we get read from them reading, like we were doing in the morning uh, with Sheikh Abdulaziz reading Riyadh al-Salihin. By the way, uh, we will resume that, but we have other readings that we're doing uh, of some of the books of Imam al-Haddad and this book of a Sha'rani that we're reading with other teachers. So we have to, the times are not matching. So when we finish that, we'll resume with the reading of Riyadh al-Salihin, inshallah. So I didn't want you to think we just forgot about you, but we're trying to finish some other books and that the time is needed. Mm.
He was later to say, "We do not think there is a single book in the whole of Hadramaut that we have not either read, been told about its contents, heard parts of it, or heard about it." Habib Ahmed ibn Zayn al-Habashi, rahimahullah, confirmed this by saying that no book was ever mentioned to Imam al-Haddad, rahimahullah, dealing with any science at all without him having either read or heard about it. He attained the
That's
status.
reading all of the Islamic sciences, right? So now you, you develop this love and you never stop. I always say, I'm finished with books, two new books come. Then it's more books. MashaAllah. May Allah give us a love for the books of the pious, inshallah. Mm.
He attained the status of independent scholar, which means that he drew his knowledge directly from the Quran and Sunnah without.
Independent scholar here is it means al-mujtahid al-mutlaq, meaning he was able to derive religious rulings himself from the Quran and Sunnah. He reached that level too. He didn't need to follow a madhab, even though, because of his respect for his forefathers, he stayed within the madhab of his Shafi'i. Mm.
Without recourse to the exegetical or deductive works of other scholars. However, he maintained his adherence to the school of Imam ash-Shafi'i, not to diverge from the pattern of his ancestors. Like other great men of Allah Ta'ala, he also possessed knowledge that was received from the higher world through unveiling and contemplation. He once said, "Had the people of this time accepted knowledge with fairness, we would have written many books on the meaning of a single verse of the book of Allah Ta'ala, for science is a light in my heart that I find no one to understand."
وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Uh, inshallah, we're going to spend a significant time uh, in reading and talking about Imam al-Haddad because it's like a turn in this book. So for the next week or two, we're going to just read and talk about Imam al-Haddad and some aspects. Besides the reading of and some books of fiqh, the smaller books, so that we cover our obligatory knowledge as well. But I want us to kind of focus in on Imam al-Haddad as we're reading, along with continuing what we're doing, inshallah. I believe Imam al-Haddad is an opening for our people. That is an easier way for us through the route of Imam al-Haddad. So, inshallah, I'll remind you tonight of uh, Sheikh Yahya Baltimore, his class in Aqidah will continue tonight at 7:30. I also remind you of the upcoming subscription-based weekly classes for the 3453 online community. I'll put the registration information up, inshallah ta'ala. We'll be starting next month. So please, those who really, really want to take this thing to another level, uh, please make some sacrifices. You know, it will be worth your while. Yeah, you can come to the class and you get all the list you're looking for. You got to put in some work now. I've been working uh, and making efforts. It's your turn. Work, 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 work. All of us got to do our part. So all the extra stuff that you're looking for is going to be put there in that subscription-based courses, lessons, and I shouldn't say courses. Then this subscription bus, that's where I'm going to pour out all the extra stuff. These morning classes is to generally keep us having a basic essential knowledge. The extras are going to be put there, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah make it easy. May Allah make it easy, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, inshallah, we'll. Oh, I didn't put the thing up. Did I put the link? There is the link uh, for the sessions. It's not much, really. For what you're going to get, it's not much at all. It may be a sacrifice for some of us, right? But people sacrifice for you, so you can sacrifice too, right? For some of us, it's easy, and we've been waiting for it, and we've been looking for it. Uh, but for some of us, it may entail a little bit of sacrifice. But inshallah, make a sincere intention, and Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala will open the doors of tawfiq for you. Make a sincere intention, and Allah will open the doors of tawfiq for you. But like I said, be ready to study, right? It's not going to it's not going to be overwhelming, but it is going to involve some study. And we just ask you to do your best, right? Because we're trying to achieve an objective. We need for some of us to really understand the issues, not just I got part of it. No, 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 I really understand. And, and I know it's going to take some effort and some sacrifice on my part to help with some of us who may have, difficulty getting, but we will do it, inshallah. We will work together and we'll get the job done. But we need more teachers. And teachers are at different levels. They're not all the same, right? Some people we just need that they're confident enough to help children. Some we need to help people who don't know Arabic, but make sure they understand the cases. Even though they don't know Arabic, we need teachers that just can teach well in English, right? To educate. Then we need some who can do some stuff in Arabic. Maybe just able to read a basic book and translate and give someone a little extra. Then we need those who are proficient in Arabic to go to higher levels. We need all levels of people, and everyone engages. Look at it this way in education. Some people in the education field, they spend their whole career as a kindergarten teacher. Some first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. Some people high school, some people university. Their whole career as a teacher is at one grade level, right? But There's people every year they teach new students. They don't, and they go 30 years, 25 years of teaching K through 6. They never go to the higher levels. And then there's some who are at the next level and next. All are needed for education to thrive in the society, right? The days is on the flyer. It's every Wednesday night from 7 to 9. It will start December the 8th. And then there will be review classes, but they're not mandatory because there will be some review classes. Uh, they will be most likely on the weekends, like on Saturday or Sunday, which we will be announcing, where I review because it's gonna be a lot of information. Uh, where we're reading and reviewing and adding points, going over charts that we're making. Uh, like I said, it's a long journey. So it's not just going to be, you're going to have to engage, right? Uh, you're going to have to engage. But I can, inshallah ta'ala, if Allah gives us tawfiq, when you finish these classes, you won't finish when you stop. If you don't stop, we go till we die, right? But when you finish, I would say after 1 year, your level of understanding the deen is going to be totally different, much more entailed, much more detailed. That I can assure you because it happened to me. And every one of us who studied with our teachers, who really put it in, all of them notice a massive difference in their understanding, right? But I do want you to be aware that it's not going to be like these open sessions. There's not going to be a lot of questioning and all over the place. It's going to be a lot of memorizing and learning. I'm going to be the one asking the questions, right? We're not going to be all over the place. You know, what about this? What about? It's very strict, very right to the point. Do you have the material? Did you master the material? All right, we don't need to talk about that. When you got that, then let's move to that because there's a structure. There's an end goal with this. And we're going to do a lot of books. So be a lot of books we're going to cover. So inshallah, may Allah make it easy. Inshallah. Barakallahu bikum. Inshallah ta'ala. We'll see you tonight. Those who can attend. If not, we'll see you tomorrow. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.